In a COVID-stricken America, kids have been sitting cooped up inside all day as team sports have been canceled and gyms closed. Families and teens have been turning to the outdoors more than ever to escape being cooped up inside the house all day. Over the past year, bike sales have increased by over 80%. Unlike ball and stick sports, mountain biking has thrived in this new landscape. And although mountain biking seems extreme and dangerous, with a risk profile safer than soccer and football, no close contact, no shared equipment, and being in the woods, riding seems perfectly made for America in 2021. It is evident that many Americans agree because there is a national bike shortage until 2022 and beyond, and outdoor recreation will never be the same. Mountain biking was invented on the west coast of the United States in Marin County, California, and was first popularized in the 1980s. Ever since then, mountain biking has seen steady growth and expansion all over the world. Nowadays, the sport includes many different diverse disciplines and a very large customer base. To get more info, we talked to George Gomes, owner of ProBuild's mobile bike store and of ProBuild's Racing.
My name is George Gomes. That's Gomes with an S. People always pronounce it Gomez. And I'm originally from New Jersey, but I'm been a Pennsylvania native for probably the last 20 years. So I'm definitely from Pennsylvania now too, for sure. And I am ProBuild's Racing is my race team. But I have a mobile bike shop / service center where we perform suspension services and stuff for Fox and for a few other companies, but primarily for Fox. Also kind of have like a storefront that we're opening up now, but we also are a mobile bike shop. But we do sell transition bikes and zero bikes.
With an unprecedented pandemic and many people getting into bikes, I wanted to get more info on how the COVID-19 pandemic has affected mountain biking as a sport.
I guess for the industry, it was like good and bad. For us, it's also good and bad. A lot of people are on their bikes and riding bikes now. So a lot of people are like fixing old bikes and just in general just out with their bikes more often now because they're either home or just have more time on their hands. So for us, it was great. In the beginning, the big rush of people getting into the sport made the shops all super busy. But with that, the influx of people riding and more bikes, and not more parts coming in, just put a lot of shops in in panics where you couldn't get parts for these bikes that you were trying to fix. So bikes end up sitting in the shops for 2-3 weeks, and it's just getting worse and worse. I mean, actually with me, there's certain work that I can't take in because I know I'm not going to be able to get parts for it anytime soon. So like I said, good and bad, I guess.
So in mountain biking, we really see three main disciplines, which are cross-country, downhill, and then enduro. So if you could elaborate on that a little more, I'm very curious.
Right. Probably XC. It's kind of weird, right? Because I think you do XC all the time. Whenever you're on your bike, you're kind of just cruising around. I mean, as far as the sport of XC goes, it's definitely the oldest in the mountain biking cycling. Back in the day, I think your only race events that you had for mountain biking were cross-country events. But how can you put it? The cross-country events always had these side shows that were the downhill race. So you kind of like did the downhill if you wanted to do the downhill, but primarily you were going to race cross country. Still very big part of mountain biking in general. I'm sure that's a big part of the market. I would say probably even like 30% of the market, at least like where I'm at, is primarily like XC riders, you know. So downhill, when I got into it, was kind of just like the fun part of the weekend. I mean, as far as like, if you're gonna go do some sort of activity on the mountain that has a lift that takes you up to the top, downhill is your primary worry. That's what you're going there for. So, I mean, that's what attracted me to this sport. Just being able to go to the top of a mountain and finding your way down it. The parks weren't really as developed as they are now, so it's a little bit different now. I mean, damn, what downhill has done in my life is pretty nuts.
Can you explain the format of downhill, like a downhill race? What does a weekend look like?
Racing is probably the most intense part of your mountain bike run, right? So you go out for a mountain bike ride. The part that's the funnest is your downhill part. So downhill racing is focused on that, and solely that. Just you getting from the top to the bottom in the fastest amount of time, in the least amount of time possible. It's a unique type of racing because you're not really racing against anyone. You're racing against a clock, and it's almost like, you know, you would think, and people want to say that you have one run, right? You have one run to do your fastest time from the top to the bottom. But when I look at it, your race started from the point that you got there. There's a build up to it. Your track walk, which I always recommend anyone that's starting and hasn't really gotten much experience racing or hasn't gotten any type of like anyone to really like to kind of follow their footsteps. I always say doing your track walk is probably the most important and most fundamental part of your race run for the weekend, and pretty much starts it starts your race run pretty much. Knowing where you're going is super important. Most of these tracks are only about a minute and 40 to 4 minutes long. So to a regular person thinking about, oh wow, you know, it's only a 4-minute race, how hard can that possibly be? If I tell you it's probably the most impossible things to do perfectly on that given time. You know, you're told at 2:45 you got to go up there, and this is after a day of maybe getting two runs of practice in the morning and sitting around twiddling your thumbs all day long. And at 2:45 you got to go up there and you got to put down the fastest time of the weekend. You got to hit your run, which might be 1 to 4 minutes long, but you got to do it the fastest possible and most perfect possible. And remember every single rock, every single tree, every single turn, every single route, every single corner that's dusty or every single corner that's not dusty, where the ground is hard, where the ground is soft. And you got to remember this all under an immense amount of pressure. And you got 5 beeps to make a decision on how hard you're going to go. And then it's on. And pretty much once you're in your race run, it's blank until you cross the finish line. And at that point, it's either you left it all out there and you're happy with leaving it all out there, or you didn't go you didn't leave enough out there, and you left some up on the mountain, and I don't know. It's intense. I did it for a few years. It's pretty wild.
Can you
And enduro is pretty much as close to what you would regularly do with your buddies on a weekend at your local mountain. You're going to ride all day. You're probably going to hit several different trails. You're probably all going to follow each other up the hill, and you're going to bomb down whatever trail it is as fast as you can. Enduro is that, except with timers. So, if you're going out for an enduro for the first time, expect to have a lot of fun, expect to be exhausted, and just expect to meet a lot of interesting people. The people that race enduro, I feel are a special group of people. I can't tell you the punishment that you go through on a race weekend. And you see some of these people at the end of it, and they're just happy, man. They're just having like best time, best attitude, just like happy about no matter how good or how crappy they did. I feel like the enduro crowd, it's a different format, so it makes it less stressful. You have a few chances to make up on your race run, and I think even in those few chances of making it up on your race run, especially for more novice type of riders, if you're out on your downhill run and you screw it up in the first corner, chances are the rest of the run's going to go pretty bad, and you're probably not going to save it, and you're probably going to get down to the bottom and be not too happy about it. Where enduro, there's always the next stage, man. It's like, there's a hope I can make it up in the next stage. And if you don't do good in that stage, it's like, oh man, there's a hope. There's another stage. And I don't know. I feel like every time you rally up at the next stage, there's always another group of people there. Everybody got the same problem that you do. Everybody's probably had a mechanical. Everybody's probably slid out in the corner. Everybody's probably crashed once already. And there's a different type of camaraderie in enduro, and I feel like that's because like you finish doing something hard and you get back up to the top and you meet up with another group of people, and then it's just different. I feel like it's the sport that's growing the most because people could go out with their friends and do it as a group. I see that all the time too. Like you'll see like 5-6 people all from the same town all racing together on a weekend, and it's starting to become more of a norm, I think, at the races.
Speaking.
Right. Yeah, so the enduro bike, which I think is pretty much the majority of the market right now, is enduro bikes. It's probably the most selling bike because it's the easiest bike to get into. 5 to 7 inches of travel. You can take it anywhere. You could go to any park. You could go to any lift access park. You could go to any local trail system. Pretty much go out there and have yourself a blast. You can enter a race with it. So it just makes it way more open for just the regular Joe Schmo to get, buy a bike and go enter a race on any given weekend and go have a great time.
Well, I hope to catch you later, and thank you for talking mountain bikes with me today. Well, folks, that's all about mountain bikes. See you next time.